Well, the question is the worst of winter still to come? Climatologically, I would tell you, if you consider worse cold heading into February, no, January is typically the coldest. But February could be full of some surprises. And across the West, the worst of winter for you, is it just where you've been warm and snowless? I would say maybe so. And I think there are some changes. So we're going to look at that. Let's start with, we'll come back to this map. That was the temperature extremes. I do want to show you what's happening way up in the stratosphere, because this right here is something that I think we want to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks. Date above me is what we're looking at, and we are pretty high up here into the stratosphere, way above the troposphere where we're getting all of the weather. This is way up where the jets fly, maybe even higher than that. But look what happens once we get toward the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. I think this is super interesting. A lot of warming happening up here, and that usually is a sign of your polar vortex getting disrupted and cold air being allowed to move south. Keep in mind, it's now February 12th. Usually 5, 6, 7 days after this, you see another outbreak of cold across the northern part of the U.S. into parts of, I'd say, the 2/3 of the eastern United States. So really east of the Rockies. Is that what we're looking at? Well, we're certainly seeing it showing up here. This is a look at the height anomalies. This gives us a look at the upper level pattern. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly, and I want to show you why. It's been cold in the east, right? Record cold in some areas. Is this going to start to break? Well, the European says, yeah, it's going to break for some of you as we see these temperatures start to rebound across parts of the central states. But this overall trough pattern, this would be by next Thursday. You've got your ridge still, just blocking the west. This back here may end up breaking this down as we head toward, next weekend, maybe putting some precip here, but this trough is staying stuck in the east. And I time 4 different clipper systems over the next week, bringing multiple chances for light snow accumulation. And there could be a surprise mixed in here somewhere too, but we're looking long range, so it's the trend, okay, at this point. I think there's heat. Someone goes, why do we even show this? We can't get it right tomorrow. I'd argue that sometimes the long-range pattern is easier than nailing down a dry slot and a low that's deepening off the East Coast, like what happens many times this as we head through winter. Looking at next weekend, a lot of the guidance is giving us that ridge across the west, trough in the east, still cold, with another shot of cold air moving in as the winter holds strong. And the ridge across the west. Here comes, I don't know if it's the canary in the coal mine, but hints of some change as we head toward now the 12th, or I should say the 9th, 10th, 11th through the 12th. I'm getting ahead of myself because once we get near that 12th time frame, my question was, and that was in my mind, are we starting to see some kind of stormy pattern across the west? Is this going to be the breakdown that we've been waiting for? That looked like it was going to come at the end of this month, but it didn't. I feel your pain if you're in the Sierra, the Wasatch, the Rockies. We've just not seen much of a winter here. I've seen comments in the comment section saying it's been feeling like summer in some areas with some of the snowless peaks and the hikes across parts of the Pacific Northwest. Changes with this type of setup too. Warmer in the east, but remember what I showed you, what's happening up around the Arctic at this time in the upper levels, right? That stratospheric warming happening. Look at this being upset here. You can see it. Boom. All right. So what we don't see is a strong polar vortex with all the cold air swirling around the North Pole. It's unlocked. So that tells me, watch this toward the middle of February. Things could get exciting. I'm going to be tracking it. We do a daily forecast here on the channel. If you're new, subscribe, come back. Let me show you where we're looking like, what we're looking like over the next 7 days. Okay. The cold across the east. These are 7-day temperature anomalies. So pretty much east of the Mississippi, a good 5 to 10. In some cases, especially right here in the Ohio River Valley, you're taking those averages way down to near 30 degrees below average. This is going to change as we head into next week. We'll start to erode at this a little bit, but overall, look, it's still cold here, still warm across the west, even up into Alaska. Temperatures up into this region, into Western Canada, above average. This starts to change again around the 12th. So the time period here is from the 16th, 15th, 14th, 13th, 12th, go back 7 days from the 16th. So you're starting to see your average temperatures fall across the west in the long-term guidance, the weeklies that come out from the European model. Is this a fact? No, this is a trend. And I think we've started to see this develop. And this looks weird to me. How are we cold in the west and cold in the east? It can happen, especially if we can disrupt this polar vortex and just drive a lot of cold air down from Alaska into the States. I don't know. My I guess history would tell me this winter, it just that ridge across the west has been so hard to break. I am going to sit in this camp and go, I believe the cold spilling into the central states, into the eastern U.S. Back here, friends, I will believe it when I see it. I'm with you, okay? Let's wait and see how that happens. Look at the 30-day precipitation totals. Even though we bring that cold into the west, look at the anomalies here into California, into the Four Corners states. Still dry. And look what we are seeing. The Pacific Northwest and also into British Columbia, just moisture laden here. Just so much precipitation moving in. To me, this screams ridge across the west. Again, these would be 30-day precip totals through the 28th. It may not tell the full story, but it kind of gives you an idea of where the precip may be. And then beyond this, who really knows? March could be wild considering the winter we've seen so far. So there's a lot of cold out there too, and we're feeling it right now. Let me show you over the next week the Clipper systems that we're talking about. Look at this massive storm. Can you imagine if this storm right here off the East Coast had shifted 200 miles to the west? We would just have buried the Northeast back to back. We didn't see that this time, but let me tell you, you're going to get some snow into the Carolinas that you don't normally see. Back to the west, here comes our first weak northwest flow system, okay? There's one. It comes through the Great Lakes. There's all that precip moving into British Columbia, into Alaska, bringing a lot of warm air up into this region. Ridge across the west, keeping it dry across the southwest. I don't see any changes here, so now we're looking through Tuesday. Okay, let's go forward in time. Here comes our next disturbance moving in the stream from the northwest. Could bring some light rain and some light snow. This one might need to be watched. It could amplify a little bit, put a little more snow into PA and Delaware. I'll show you the GFS in just a second. And then another one on Thursday drops in. Here's number 3. This looks a lot different on the European today than what the GFS is looking like. But there's system 3. There's another reinforcing shot of cold. Snow showers behind this. Wintry. And then across the west, I don't know, spring-like in some cases. It's crazy. There's that precip moving into the northwest. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we've seen, just like all winter. And I don't see this breaking down at least this week for sure. Once we head into the next week, here comes, again, I called it the canary in the coal mine. Is this what we're looking for? Is this the change agent with some snow and rain into the west? Does this start to warm us up as we head toward the central Mississippi River Valley, as we move into the Great Lakes? Do we get some kind of big storm finally cranking into the Rockies, pulling warm air north for actual rain falling in Minnesota? This is way too far out. One operational run, but I do want to show you the GFS just for some comparison. There's our big East Coast storm. There's our disturbance 1. Disturbance 2 on the GFS. If I remember correctly, yes, it amplifies a little bit more. So this is what I was talking about heading into Tuesday. Watch this little sneaker right here, okay? It could bring a little bit of snow from Chicago north towards Pittsburgh. On the east side of this, if this thing can dig a little bit, so there's some energy back here. I see a little bit of digging going on in the upper levels, and now I'm wondering, all right, can this thing dig a little bit with some mixed precip on this side with some heavier snow to the northeast? So there's the next system, all right? And look, as promised, here comes your, I don't remember which one this is, maybe the third. I know there's 4 coming up. Diving in from the northwest, putting some snow in and around the Great Lakes, into Saskatchewan, and another one behind this. And there's that relentless ridge, okay? You see the common denominator. It's there on all the models, and I don't see any change when you look long range, at least for now. Cold northwest flow, too. This is Arctic air, truly Arctic air, getting just pounded down into the east with more unsettled weather. Now, here's where it gets weird, right? So the GFS also starting to see this ridge break down in the west, and then it starts to do some really weird things. Now, I don't know what it's going to do on February 10th. No way in the world I'm going to tell you I do, but I think you start to watch this time period for transitions. I'm a firm believer when you start to see weather transitions, look for some storms, some kind of precip. This could set up an overrunning ice situation again. It's a long way out, I know, but that's a time period that needs to be watched. And look, both the European and the GFS have that colder weather in the west, colder weather in the east, and I'm going to go back to the European weeklies and go, is something being sniffed out here, right? Cold in the west, cold in the east, cold in Alaska, just pulling all that chilly air down from the Arctic. A long way to go. Total long range. You didn't pay a dime for this. It's free 99. Maybe it's worth what you pay for. Throw it away. Come back and, we do 24-hour, 48-hour forecasts that are a little more just not up in the air. But I do like to take a look at the trend because I know there's a lot of people out there, especially across the west, going, when will this end? And some of you in the east are going, when will we thaw out? Oh, at this point, if I had to guess, things do flip a little bit by around the 10th, 11th, and the 12th of February. More to come. We'll see if I'm right. Odds are low, though, at this point, looking long range, but something's got to give, right? Thanks for watching. Have a great night, great morning. Whenever you're watching this, subscribe and come back. See you next time.